Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live broadcast. I'm just keeping another eye on my screen just over to the side for a couple of seconds. At the moment it's showing the video because there's about a 30-second delay between, and I know I keep saying, and actually what comes up on the stream. So, like always, I'm just keeping an eye on it, make sure that it's actually putting my voice out, because a couple of times I've done this muted. There we go. I can hear myself now, so let's mute that. That should mean we're all ready to go for today's live stream. So, how are we all today? Here, where I live, just south of Perth, starting to warm up a little bit, or seems to be now. I've actually gone 3 days without needing to put my beanie on, which is good. Temperature-wise at the moment, I know I tell this most weeks, 13 degrees Celsius now. You know, that's nice, isn't it? I mean, 8:30 in the morning. Fingers are a bit cold, but they'll soon warm up when I start writing. What's been going on with you? What have you been up to this week? I'm just chatting away at the moment until we've given people a chance to come in. I'll just give it a couple more minutes. Let me just get over to my window over here. I'm hoping, let me just try this. Can I get up a list of participants? Let me try. Hello, Blonde Scales 1. I can see you listed in the participants. I can see myself because obviously I've got myself playing along there as well. Okay, let's give it another minute or two and then we'll make a start. Been an interesting week this week, hasn't it? Let's start by talking about something super important. Star Trek. Last week we had our live stream and I was chatting a little bit about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, about how much I'm enjoying it. And what was quite interesting, I came off the stream and I got a notification. They'd released an episode early and it was the crossover episode with Star Trek Lower Decks. Not sure if you've seen it, not sure if Star Trek's something you're into, but wow, I loved it. It was an absolutely awesome episode and it's one I haven't yet, but I think it's an episode that I would watch again. And what's even nicer is it was released essentially as a bonus, so we still had the normal episode on Friday. And again, I loved that episode, focusing in on really one main character, which was really good. And given the backstory, I really enjoyed it. Downside, though, there's only 2 more episodes left of this season. Not sure what I think about the one that's going to be coming up. You can't talk today. Not sure what I think about the one that's coming up. Apparently it's meant to be a musical episode. And I know they've done musical episodes in things like Buffy and, a number of other ones. But Star Trek, I'm not sure. Depends how it's done and if it can somehow fit in with the way the universe is. So I'd be interested to see it, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I expect too much from it. Let's quickly go through. So thank you first to, hopefully I'm going to pronounce this name right. If I don't, please let me know. Thank you to Lenore Breen, who has joined as a supporter. Very much appreciated. So supporter level, this is my YouTube membership level. I've only got one level, which is supporter. I've seen some with loads of different levels. To me, they're confusing. So I keep it as just one. So thank you, welcome. So as a supporter, you get early access to my videos. You get some bonus videos. So at the moment, the intro video that I put up here, that goes as a bonus video each week. And then I'm toying around with some ideas of some additional bonus ones to do as well. So thank you for joining. And let me know if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm terrible for, getting names really badly mangled. Blonde Scales 1, quite hot where she is. Yeah, it's nice that it's warming up. I can't wait for summer. I mean, I know. Then once we get into the summer, I'll be whinging about it being too hot, but you can't win everything. Now, I'm just keeping an eye between my two things because on my preview that I see on my live stream, I've got a lot of buffering going on. But what I'm seeing coming through on my actual stream, there doesn't. So let me know if there is any buffering. Today, I've got my Marvel mug. Got Is that Hawkeye on there? We've got Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Hulk. I've got my normal peppermint tea in there. I'm going to change that in a while. Once this peppermint tea's run out, I think I'm going to switch to Earl Grey for a while. Anyway, so Blonde Scales 1, welcome. BJ, hello to you, welcome. Marie. And Marie saying it's hot in Michigan. I can't talk. It's hot in Michigan. The Coast Guard Festival. Oh, that'd be quite interesting. Is that similar to, they do like similar things here with the surf life saving? I'm guessing it's like that, where they have like the boats going out and simulated rescues and competitions about how fast they can do certain things. I think all those, anything like that really is really interesting. So today's topic is actually prompted by a question I was asked during the week. So somebody made a comment and they were asking, what do I use my pens for? The thing which everybody sees, well, hopefully everybody sees, is every day I do my YouTube short. That's where I put up my daily writing. Let me actually see, can I just pull up my channel? And hopefully I can actually show you that to give you some ideas. Just got to try and work out how to get into it. That's not what I wanted. That's because it's Chrome, it's not Safari, which is what I normally use. There we go, let me just get into Safari. And then, yeah, we'll share the screen. So here's my Safari review of my YouTube. My main EDCs for that day. There we go. So you can see yesterday's was the Narwhal Nautilus, but it ran out of ink. So I swapped and I brought in the Visconti Breeze. Got a real nice red ink in that Breeze. It looks really nice. I'll talk about today's pen obviously in a little bit, but you can see there. So that's every day I release them. Usually they're about 45 seconds. So if you get the chance and you haven't already, please go ahead and have a look at them. Let me go back to the camera. Blonde Scales 1. Temperatures next week around 100 Fahrenheit. Let me just get into Google. 100 FNC. 100 Fahrenheit is approximately 37 Celsius. Yeah, that's warm, isn't it? Normally, I think usually be like between January and maybe mid-April. We get a lot of days where it's over 30 and quite a lot over 35. It's when it hits 40 Celsius. Let me just do that in here. So 40C, let me just work it out. I know there's some maths you can do, but I just use Google. So 40 Celsius is 104 Fahrenheit. Once it hits that, you know about it. I know a few years ago, maybe about 6 years ago, I think it was, we had, I think it was either 41 or 42 degrees on Christmas Day. And we were having the full turkey and all the vegetables. That was a struggle that day with all the heat. Lisa Kay from San Francisco Bay Area, welcome to you. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Just keeping an eye over on participants as well. Do you know, I've got so much going on today. I've got all these screens going. Let me close that one down. So what do I use my pens for? So that's the thing that people, there was Garry going off on a tangent again. So there was Garry, they were my daily shorts. So that's my daily writing practice. And at the moment I'm using this. This is just a cheaper, I think it was about $5. And here's today's. And what I do with this is I just use two apps. I use Brainy Quote, which is what I use for this page, the first page, and then Inspiration, which is what I use for the second page, just to get some different quotes. And when I'm doing this, I'm not just writing, I'm also trying to spend, a few seconds with each one to think about how it means to me, what it means to me, how I can use that to try and change just one thing. I'm very much that every day I want to do one thing, or at least one thing, hopefully more than one thing, but I want to do one thing different. And it might only be slightly different. It doesn't have to be a big change. And so that's where I think just being able to think about some of these quotes really does help with that. Now, I did have somebody comment on one of them saying that brainy quote can sometimes misattribute the quote to the wrong person. And if that does happen, I am sorry about that. It still doesn't change the value of the quote, though. So that's my daily writing practice. I want to use that. I do try to improve my handwriting a little bit as well. I then spend, usually between 5 and 10 minutes just after I've done the quotes, just after I've been thoughtful. And then this is that Leuchtturm 120 GSM book. In there, I write one A5 page of what happened the previous day. But it's not a factual thing. It's not saying I did this, this, and this. What it is, again, it's about being mindful. So what I do is I spend, 5 to 10 minutes. I think about what happened. I think about the impact it had. I think about how it's affected me, how it's affected other people. The idea being that what I'm going to write is about how it makes me feel, not necessarily about what I've done. And again, this is all part of, reflecting and trying to improve what I'm doing, trying to improve how I deal with people, how I deal with myself, how stressful situations and how I react to them, so I can change how I react in the future if something like that happens again. So that's the next 5 to 10 minutes. I then have, and I'm pulling the notebooks out, I've then got my bullet journal. In here, I've got a couple of entries. This first one, this is where I'm trying to come up with my stats for the day. So I've got 3 things that I'm measuring. Number of hours sleep I get. If you don't get enough sleep, it can really affect you. But saying that, if you get too many, it can still affect you. I then have a tracker there. The second one is that did I read the previous day? So not saying how long I read for, did I just read? And by read, I don't mean, collecting notes or anything like that. It's actually reading for enjoyment. So at the end of these videos, I do tell you about what I'm reading. But it's just a way of keeping track of that. Then the third one, which has only got 1 entry in for this month, I track if I add any alcohol. I only do that mainly for interest. Some months I have a couple of drinks. Some months I have none at all. I can go months and months without drinking anything. But it's just quite interesting to collect that data. And then a little bit further on, I'm just trying to see if I can show you any of these. No, there's personal stuff in with them. What I do is each day I list out in the bullet journal my appointments for the day, and also 2 or 3 tasks that I want to achieve that day. Don't go for more than 2 or 3 tasks, because if you try and put down a load, you end up getting you feel that you get demotivated, because if you find you're not doing them, it's really hard. But if you pick 1, 2, 3 that you can start with, and it gets your juices going, I always get the 2 that I pick or the 3 that I pick. But generally, I also do another 20 or 30 on top of that. But they're the ones that they get me going. They're the important ones for that day. So they're essentially what I do in the morning. That takes me anywhere from half an hour to an hour, depending how much I think about each thing. Later on in the day, I then start going through doing any research that I need to do, preparing for stuff. So at the moment, I've got this grey notebook here, and this is what I use. So any research, so I can write down here details of what's going on. That's collected, again, cheaper notebook. I think it was about $2. And I go through, 1 every couple of weeks of those. Other things I have on my desk, at the moment, I've got this. This was like a big Post-it type pad thing. once this is finished, there's only a few pages, only a few like leaves left. I'll then go back to using another one of those cheaper notebooks. So that's a book. It stays on my desk. This stays on my desk. So when I'm working, as I come up with thoughts, as you can see there, I've got, there, I think it says selected manufacturer. Now, to most people, that'll mean nothing. But to me, that was something that came up. I jotted down one or two words, in this case, one. I know what it means, so that when I come around and pick up, I know what to do. And, I might go through a couple or three of these each day. Once I get to the notebook, usually about a month when I'm using a notebook. So, yeah, a lot of note taking, a lot of jotting quick things down here, as I say, on my desk. I have other notebooks. So this one here, these A4 books, they're dirt cheap. It's about $1, something like that. And what I use, these for projects, and because these are so cheap, I mean, it's only 64 pages. I have one of these per project that's going on, and once the project's finished, I might bin it, I might put it to one side, but that's useful. So any ideas I have about a project, they just go straight into these. Not very structured, not very organized, but I know everything to do that project. It's in one single place. So that's useful. Other thing I have, got my post-it notes again. If I'm sat at my desk, think of something. If it's something quick, love that. So that's what I use my pens for. Let's jump back and look through the comments. Will Hodge, howdy from Texas. Is Texas a warm state? I think is that down near the Mexican border. I don't know that much really well when it comes to American states. Is it Chris Sines is in Texas, and also what's the other one? JG3. I think he's in Texas as well. Hello, welcome. Blonde Skills 1. Been collecting quotes, sayings, etc. that people post on Facebook. Still working on getting them into a notebook. Yeah, I collect like humorous type stuff off Facebook. Let me just open this. What I actually tend to do is going back to Yorkshire now. Just make sure that I'm happy sharing everything in here. This is my photos album. Let me just expand this. So what I do is I take a screenshot of it. Nothing in here is a problem. No. Right, I'll share my screen. Hopefully this will come up. Yeah, there we go. So what I do, like here, the 10 Commandments of Logic, this was something I would have seen on Facebook. So I just generally there collect them into photos. I actually like the idea of then transcribing them into a notebook. I think that's something I'm going to have a think about that, because that could be quite interesting, especially if I can transcribe them into one of my nicer notebooks. So there's then there's some others. You can see my thumbnails for upcoming videos. This flower here, this bird of paradise, and it's literally, I can see it from here out in my garden. Yeah. That's some material for the wife here. We've got another one. Rules for a Scientist's Life. They're just little things that I like the look of. Scientific method. Oh, there we go. There's the dog having a sleep on the couch. Here, other thing I've collected. There's this one and there's this one. These are that I've seen. It might have been on Fountain Pens Australia, but these are where people have made pen cases or pen wraps. I'm trying to convince my wife to make some for me. We've got a whole load of Star Wars material and Marvel material. So I'm trying to get her to make some of those. Then we're going right the way back. Yeah, too long. And then you see my wife's crafty stuff that I would take photos of. Let's jump on back to the camera and go back. So, yeah, I like that idea, Blonde Scales 1. Journaling keeps me focused. Instead of having thoughts swimming in my mind, I can get them onto paper. And that's how I got into fountain pens and journaling. Completely with you. Completely agree. And for some reason, this hasn't swapped over. I don't know. Never use technology. There we go. That's better. My remote control disconnected from my laptop for a minute. Many years ago, I remember reading the book by David Allen. I think it was Getting Things Done, something like that. And in there, one of the points he makes, and I've tried to adopt, is your brain is not there to store things. Your brain is there to think and do things. And every time you're trying to store things in your head, you end up losing and forgetting things, because an average person can keep maybe 7 active thoughts in their head. And then once something new comes in, it goes out. And it's also easy to distract yourself. So have you ever, say you're at home and you go from one room to another, and as you go through the door, whatever it was you were thinking about just goes from your head because you've transitioned to another room. Now, I've heard a podcast, and it's Dr. Cal. If you've never listened to a Dr. Cal podcast, really recommend him. Very, very good Australian-based scientific communicator. But he's looked at this a few times, and what he said is it's down to our mammalian, like the way our brains work, that we have to assess a threat when we go from one environment to another. So by going through a door, we're going into a different environment. So like the base instinct that we have is to assess for any threats. And that's what pushes things out of your mind. I know I'm going off on an aside. But so, yeah, that's what I use. And that's why I've got all these bits of paper laying around. If I have a thought, it goes down on paper. It's sometimes, if I'm sat working on my computer, I might not interrupt myself. I might just make a note on the computer. But it's really important to get everything out of your head into paper, into a system where you can quickly find what it is and you can read it and know what that means. And then also, as I said about the mindfulness, yeah, it's about focusing. And this is why I don't just say, yesterday I did this, this, and this. I think about it. And I summarize it to 1A5, because by thinking about it, you solidify it. You pull out all the real important bits, and things that aren't as important, you can push out of the way. BJ, just a strip. BJ, I haven't tried the Leuchtturm 120 yet, but I do enjoy the standard journal. Yeah, I've only had this 120 now. It's maybe 2-3 weeks that I've been using it. I was looking for some nice paper, because I do like to get nice paper to use for my journaling. Normally I've been using black and red, but when I saw that, I thought, yeah, let's get that. I think it's 250-ish. Can't remember the exact number pages. So I thought that'll do for a good chunk of a year. It is a nice paper. I do have a video from, I want to say about 2-3 weeks ago, where I compare that, and I also compare that against the standard bullet journal one. And there is some differences with the paper. Inertia 4. Hello from Brooklyn, New York. I journal every night and it helps me cope with my day. Yeah, completely with you there. Main reason I do it the following morning is I find that overnight, that's where my brain processes a lot of things. And my brain processes a lot of things, and I get a lot of thoughts happen overnight. So by leaving it to the morning, I find it helps me solidify that a little bit more. But certainly a lot of people do recommend doing it at night. It's just I found that for me, daytime, in the morning's fine. And by morning, I'm talking like 6 o'clock in the morning. I get up nice and early, and everyone else is in bed. So before I do anything, that's where I have that reflection time. Blonde Scales 1, need to write more in my journal. Yeah, I think it's a really powerful tool. People never really appreciate it until you start doing it. I've been doing it about 3 years now. I actually have all my old ones in a box. I do keep saying to myself, I'm going to go and read some of the previous ones, but I've never had. But at least it's there. Will Hodge, Love to hear your journaling experience. Started when my mother passed. Great way to grieve. It is. It's a great way to really get your ideas, get your thoughts out from your mind. Lisa Kay, been writing in the some lines a day. Oh, that sounds interesting. I like the name of that. About 2.5 years. Find it really interesting to go back and compare what I've been feeling, what I've been doing. Yeah, as I say, I haven't done that yet. And I think it's maybe something I need to start thinking about including. Maybe not looking at, well, yeah, even last year, but maybe looking at from 2-3 years ago. It could be quite interesting, to see how we've changed. We're changing all the time. And it'd be interesting to go back and see what feelings and what improvements you can see. Tom Morley, yes, Chris is in Texas. I've actually got her video. It came out yesterday, I think, to watch her August Pens. I'll mostly watch that. It might actually be tomorrow now. Sundays are getting quite busy. Blonde Scales 1, Texas borders Mexico. So at least a little bit of my geography is working all right. BJ, journaling for sanity time. Time-honoured tradition, absolutely. Almost a Zen practice. I find the same. It's nice. As he's saying here, you can pick your favourite pen, pick your ink, pick your paper, and use the things that you enjoy. Use that time to not only think, but to enjoy what you're writing, to lose yourself in that. As I said with my journaling, for me, one of the rules I set myself is 1 A5 page. No more, no less. So if I've had a quiet day, I have to think a bit harder because I have to fill that 1 A5 page. And I know other people, they may use multiple pages. That's fine. It's whatever it works. Marie, we need to see more the cute puppy. Yeah, she's in bed with a wife at the moment. She's not very, very happy with me at the moment. It was annual injection day the other day. She absolutely hates going there. Not so much of the going. And when we get her out of the car, she was pulling towards the door. As soon as she got to the door, realised where she was, did an about turn and tried to walk away. Good job we had her on the lead. But yeah, so she's had a few days where she's not been my friend. Blonde Scales 1 agreed, yeah. Normally on a Monday and a Wednesday when I record, she's actually on the settee in here, which is where I took that photo from a few weeks ago. I'll have to try and get some photos of her, and maybe if she comes over, when she comes in, I'll try and grab her if she comes in whilst we're still on the stream. Santa, hello, welcome to you. Blonde Scales, I call it letting my thoughts marinate. What a brilliant way of saying it. Yeah, it is. It's about letting them, marinate in your mind and start going through it. I think that's a brilliant. I'm going to try and remember to say that as well. Grapes, started writing to keep my day sorted. Yeah, I know what you mean. Sorted for my 5 jobs. There we go. Unfortunately, I can't show all 3 comments. And keyboard sucks. Yeah, keyboard. I am a very much, and I've said this before. Everything in my life is electronic. I'm very much IT first in everything. My background. I'm an application developer. I love technology. From being a little boy, I've loved technology. My first computer was a ZX81, and it cost me a whole 50 UK pounds when I bought it, and that was back in 1981. I worked my butt off. I was 11 years old, and earned the money for it. And it had a massive 1K memory. No external, no floppy disks, none of these disk things. To save stuff from it, it was using an old tape cassette recorder, which would connect up and it would do another beep boo or whatever the noises were to save it and read it back. So yeah, I'm very much, my entire life is on my computer. And this is one of the reasons why I got back into using the paper journal, because it's a very different feel, or certainly to me, when I'm using the computer as opposed to when I'm using the paper. Using paper and pen, it's very intentional, I think is the best way to put it. You're thinking about it. Whereas on a computer, because I spend all my day on it, it's just more instinct, it's more reflex doing it on the computer. I don't think about what I'm putting in there. And this is why when I do my morning bullet journal stuff, I pull out them 2 or 3. They're the important ones that need to get done. And by writing them down again and being intentional, thinking about it, I'm more likely to succeed and do them. Inertia 4. Reason I journal at night is can organise my thoughts for the next day and to reflect on the feelings of the day I'm writing about. Yep, with you there. I think it's something very important that we should do, and I don't think we do often enough ourselves, I've got to be honest. Wool Hodge, add handwriting practice to my journaling. Enjoy practicing cursive. Have not made it to calligraphy level. I've got to be honest, I don't use cursive. When I went to school in the UK, it was never cursive that was taught. It was joined up writing. And in my notebook, my general notes, that's what I tend to use. And as you can see, it's next to unreadable. I can just about read it. I worked about 4 or 5 years ago. I worked with somebody who grew up in the Netherlands, and he wrote cursive. And whenever he left notes on my desk, we'd end up with 2 or 3 of us all gathered round trying to decipher it. I do tend more, here's my thing from last week. It's more like printing when I'm doing stuff that I want other people to see. For myself, I do my what I call my scribble. Grapes, Sinclair Special membrane keyboard. Yeah, I completely remember that. After I had the Sinclair, that's where I taught myself programming, obviously using Sinclair Basic. At school, we didn't have computers at school. That was the only exposure. And I was the only one of my friends that had one. After I had the ZX81, I then upgraded to a Commodore Amiga. Again, I don't know if people remember them. Blonde Scales 1. First computer we had was Radio Shack colour computer. Didn't really have a Radio Shack in the UK. I'm assuming, is that something a little bit like a PC? Be interesting to know that. Anyway, I've gone through all the comments. So what we'll do, we'll swap cameras. We'll go to the phone camera. Let me just move that out of the way. So here's my notebook. Move my notes over so I can actually see them. Let me turn this computer around a wee bit. There we go. Then my face is still in there. So the paper is Midori cotton paper. Quite nice texture to it, and it's like a creamy colour. So I should have already written this. I'm going to write the title in this pen. This is today's pen. So it's pens for weekending. What's the date? Yesterday. So weekending, it was yesterday, 29 July 2023. Love the Diplomat Aero. Unfortunately, this one's almost out of ink. This is part of my August pens. The August pens is a Use Me Up month. So the whole idea of that is the pens I'm using for the next month. As soon as they finish, I'll run out of ink. They will not be filled. They'll be cleaned out. There's about 42 inked pens at the moment. I want to reduce that number. And normally in these Use Me Up months, I can use 15 pens. So the pens I've used this week. Sunday last week. There's not a lot of ink in here. Hopefully all right. This is the Pilot Custom 823. Love this pen. 823, not 833. It's got a broad nib. When I bought it, it was 394 Aussie dollars. Not a cheap pen. The ink, we've got Diamine, and it's Tobacco Sunburst. I love this ink in this pen. It's got some gorgeous shading. My most expensive pen. Absolutely love writing with it though. This is one I may break the rules, I may refill it, but I'm not sure. But I'm hiccuping, but I'm not sure. The next pen that I used was a Parker Jotter. Won't be writing with this because it's empty. This has been cleaned out. It's not your standard Parker Jotter though. It's got a Kaweco nib on there. So I know I've told the story. I'm not sure. Oh no, that's just a bit of water. I thought I damaged it for a minute. When I got this pen, it came from a car boot sale, so it was, a second-hand one. The actual pen was made in 1996, and I'd written with it once to do testing. Then I pulled the nib and feed out because I thought, let's give it a really, really good clean, and the nib went down the plug. So I lost the nib, and then I had this. I know I've told the story loads of times. This was on a Cult Pens Mini. It's a Kaweco nib, but it fits and it writes beautifully. It's a double broad nib, really lovely writer. So, next pen, Jinhao 85. Nice wooden pen. It's got one of the hooded nibs. It's also, not sure, can I get, no, you don't see my hairy hands. It's got a Fude nib on it. So, Jinhao 85 with that Fude nib. I love the line variation on this, and this was $7.50. The ink in here is by Diamine, and it's Automilk. And I'm going to change I'm going to go like this just so you can see we do get some different line widths. That's a Jinhao 85. That was what I used on Tuesday. Oops, he says throwing it. So Wednesday's pen was a Wing Sun. Again, not a lot of ink left in here. This is a Wing Sun 3013. This is, my brain's gone. It's a vacuum filler, I believe. It might be a piston, but I think it's a vacuum. It's got the plunger down there, which you can use to seal off the section. So we've got here a Wing Sun 3013. Fine nib. One of the things that really puts me off some of my Chinese pens is the choice of nibs is not really there. But it only cost me $8. So who really cares? $8. It's a pen that writes well. It's a fine nib, but I can live with that. The ink is Herbin or Herban, and it's Eclat de Saphir. Gorgeous blue coloured ink. Didn't do my chevron or my hash mark. Let's go and do that. There we go. So Thursday's pen. Sorry. Nose is running. Thursday's pen is the Narwhal, Narvaler, however you want to pronounce it, Skullkill. This is Popita Navy. On here, I've got a medium nib. This is a Narwhal nib. Bit of ink left in here. Might get another week out of this. Might even get two, but not sure. So this is the Narvaler Skullkill. Skullkill. Medium nib. And this was, how much was this? Wow, we've got a massive jump in price. 89 Aussie dollars. The ink is Noodlers. Navajo Turquoise. Again, it's another ink. I don't use it often enough. It's a beautiful colour. Just move the page up a wee bit. Friday's pen. Bit on the small side, this one. This is the Pelican M205, so it's a steel nib. Very small. I find with this one, I could get away using it unposted, but it's very light. The cap's very light, so it posts really well. Piston filling pen. no ink window, so I've got no idea how much ink is left in here. So it was the Pelican M205 with a broad nib. Cost-wise, 152 Aussie dollars. You can see with that Navajo turquoise how I've smudged it. So I've now got my inky hands going. The ink is by Diamine, and it's royal blue. Nice, gorgeous blue colour. And I think it goes really well with this body. For all that I'm saying it's a small pen, it's a beautiful writer. So Friday's pen, no, that was just on Friday. So Saturday, this is what I was saying. So it was the Narwhal 365 in the Nautilus shape. Now, this is in my Pens in Use video, which would be coming out on Tuesday. And in it, I stupidly keep calling it the Narwhal Schuylkill. It's not the Schuylkill, it's not the Nautilus, it's the 365 from 2021. The material is Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 3.5. Now, I will try and write with this. I don't think it will because it is out of ink. So, now we're getting a little bit. Narwhal 365. It's got a Goulet broad nib, so it's a Yoho nib. It cost $241. The ink is by Cult Pens, and it's Little Pip. Starting to go now. I've left this like overnight, and I've left it stood up like that, so we have got a little bit more ink in there. I love this ink. I'm just going to lift this up so you can see it. It's got a purple background, but it's got masses and masses of a gorgeous gold sheen. Hopefully that'll come over. Really pretty. And it's one I tend to use for headers because I think it looks really nice. So because that ran out of ink, I swapped and I brought in the Visconti Breeze. So this is in the Blueberry Visconti Breeze. Again, broad nibbed and a steel nib, very small nib, and it was 163 Aussie dollars. And the ink in here is a Diamine ink. It's Red Dragon. To me, this is a bit of an overpriced pen. I did a focus video on this not that long ago. So they're the pens that I've been using this week. We'll swap back to the camera. There we go. Let me just move the laptop again so I can get my face central. And we'll go through some more comments. Will Hodge, my father was an engineer. His was proper print all the time. Yeah, I do find, I say most of it, if I know someone else is going to read it, I do use print. I've had a while ago, I'm going to be honest, and even if the person is here, I don't really care. I had a very rude person put a comment on one of my videos, and it went, "Why the hell aren't you using cursive?" You know, at the end of the day, it's all down to us. What do we want to do? There's no rule saying you've got to be using cursive. If you're doing a YouTube channel, you've got to be doing what you're comfortable with. I am comfortable with printing, or more or less printing, so that's what I stick with. BJ, I mowed grass to afford my first computer, a Commodore 64. I'm trying to think. When I got my ZX81, I grew up in a seaside town, and on there they had what they called crab stalls, and one of my aunts, she owned one. So I went and worked for them, cleaning, where they'd been cleaning crabs. I would be cleaning up all the mess and trying to keep it nice and clean and just doing odd jobs. Tom Morley, in 1981, was writing software for high school math courses on an Apple. Now I'm Apple, but I didn't get my first Apple until about 10 years ago. I'll never go back to a PC again. I've got to be honest. I love my Mac. I'm actually sat here talking to you on a MacBook Pro, and I also have a 2018 Mac Mini, which is what my other screen is being driven from, the one where I've actually got the stream running so I can see what's coming up. That one, although it's connected to a screen, I use that more as a server. So on there, I've got my external drives, my big RAID type drives all connected to that, so I can access them over the network. I've got mail runs on there, but I've got loads of rules that run. So my incoming mail is filtered through there, and it gets rid of a lot of ones where I know it's crap, so I just automatically delete it, and that's all run on there. I've got a number of other automation programs running. So again, I can put a file into a folder, which is strange enough called sync. It syncs between the two, then rules on the Mac Mini run, and then we'll take various actions based upon not just the name of the file, but also the contents. So say my electricity bill arrives, the email, I save the PDF into there. It doesn't matter what it's saved as. The program that I've got, it looks through the contents of the file, and it's looking for the account number. If it sees the account number in there, it renames the file to be saying, right, this is electric bill that came in on this date. It moves that file then into my electricity bill folder automatically, so I don't need to think about it. It also creates an entry in my task management system to pay the bill. Really interesting what you can do nowadays. Woolhodge Radio Shack was an electronic store in the US. Had a transistor radio kit I built from them. So it sounds like in the UK there was a store called, been that many years, Maplin's, I think it was on Maplin. Sounds very similar to that, where you go and get all your electronic components from there. Computer hooked up to a TV and had game cartridges. Still with you there. That's my ZX had a TV in the bedroom. It was a 12-inch black and white telly. This was back in about 1981, and the ZX81 needed to be connected to that to be of use. I can't remember what my first I know I wrote my first programs on it. I just can't remember exactly what it was. Many years ago. BJ, still finding myself an analog man living in a digital world. Yeah, as in, I'm slightly opposite. I'm a digital person who fetches analog in, and I think it's so important that we do that. Blonde Scales one way back in the 80s. I know, doesn't it seem strange now when you're saying back in the 80s? And I know with my son, a song comes on the radio, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, this is some modern thing." I say to him, "Yeah, I can remember that when that was released originally." BJ and 823, BJ in Broad. You don't see those often. I got that from Goulet Pens in the US. Absolutely love it. Really is such a nice pen. Apart from maybe a couple of months, it's virtually constantly inked up since I had it. I've had it now about 20 months. It was a gift for Christmas from not last Christmas, but the one before. But I had it before to do my video on it. BJ never tried a Pilot Broad. Now, this is quite interesting. I said, here, this is the 823 with a broad. I've got a custom Heritage 92 with a medium. And I would say that medium is broader than the 823 broad. Tom Morley have the same 823 in broad. Love it. BJ Navajo turquoise is now called Turquoise of the Mesas. Yeah, it's a beautiful colour. Really recommend it. I've used about half the bottle now. And certainly when it runs out of this, because I like it. Noodlers have changed a few of the names. Yeah, I think the other one I've only got a sample of is Apache Sunset, which I think has also been renamed now. Is it Southwest Sunset, something like that? Woolhodge, Noodle has changed servers due to pressures from distributors. And this was it about 18 months ago this was all happening. There was a bit of a controversy with it because of the manufacturer's views. I don't know, not sure about that. Not sure what I feel about it. I can understand the reason for it. And I think at the end of the day, it's just a name, but it gets a bit confusing when, a bottle of ink can last years. Brett Clark, ignore stupid people on the internet. Most of the time I do, but sometimes I think it doesn't hurt just to do one reply. Don't be rude, but just reply to them and say, look, sorry, I disagree. This is why. And then kill off and don't talk anymore, because otherwise you get into that battle of arguments and back and forwards. Blonde Scales 1, we all develop our own unique way of writing. Completely with you there. BJ, negativity isn't worth wasting your time on. Yep, again, completely with you. I try to be, one of the things I say to people, people that used to work for me, they used to come to me and say, we've got a problem. I used to turn around and say, no. And I would make them go away, because what I would say to them is, you do not come to me with the problems. You come to me with an opportunity. So what you do is, if you've got what you think is a problem, rephrase it. Rephrase it as an opportunity. Still the same issue, but it's changing it from being a problem, which is that negative mindset, into an opportunity, which is a positive. And I've got to be honest, 9 times out of 10, they didn't come back, because by reframing it, by thinking about it, the solution went bang into the head, because they started to think positive. And there's something really, really worthwhile doing. BJ, Will Hodge, BJ, check out the Joe Walsh song, Analog Man. Hopefully that'll be on YouTube somewhere. Joe Walsh, Analog Man. I've just made a note to go and find that myself. An ink guy, welcome. Likely to lead to a bunch of confusion. Yeah, I'm completely with you there. One of the people that I've seen where he's made a number of comments is Penultimate Dave, when he's been using Apache Sunset, and he's Apache Sunset, and he's commented a few times about it being renamed, but then he always uses the name Apache Sunset in his videos when he uses it. Penultimate Dave's quite an interesting one. He seems to have more of like the higher end, or what I would class as higher end pens. I love watching them. So he has, every week he has his 10 pens of the week. Quite often the things like Visconti and Noto. But he's had in there recently, he's had a Jinhao S159. He's had the Asvine V169. So yeah, really interesting. Worth looking at if you haven't seen any of his videos. I say they do tend to be more higher end. But I quite look at, it's one of those ones where you watch it and you're thinking, I'd love to be able to afford that. And the range of Visconti pens is quite interesting. BJ, I've heard it seems fitting. Yeah, I will check it out. I don't know, is it like one of the humorous type songs? I'd quite like, the songs where there's a bit of humour and I can chuckle along. I thought the dog was coming in for a minute, but she walked right past the door and has gone back to the wife. So unfortunately, I can't show her. BJ, yes, Apache Sunset, now called Southwest Sunset. An amazing shader. I say I've only got a sample of it. Not sure if I'll get a bottle. To me, it's a little bit too pale. I do enjoy it when I do use it. Maybe I need to get that into another pen. I'll have a think about that. So, Marilyn Gardner, welcome. Waterman keeps renaming their inks too, but it's not surrounding the controversy like Noodlers, so people don't talk about it. Now, I can't remember what it's called now, but wasn't there the one I'm thinking of, was it a Sherlock Holmes ink or something like that, and it was renamed? Or was that Diatramentis? I can't remember off the top of my head. So what else have I been up to this week? Well, I've placed an order from AliExpress for pens. It took me about an hour and a half to get 9 pens into the basket to order. I will be honest, when they come in, most of these pens, they will be vanishing. I'm intending to do the ink vent in December, like I've done the past couple of years. And as part of that, my wife likes to give me a gift. Now, obviously, she doesn't like picking the pens, so I generally order the pens. Then when they come in, she takes a look at them and then she vanishes some of them. So out of the 9, I think she's going to have about 6 for that. So I will receive them back as gifts during December. But the other 3 pens will be, there'll be first impressions coming out. Well, it depends when they arrive. I mean, from AliExpress, it can take anywhere between 2 weeks and 3 months to arrive. But they've all been shipped, so hopefully they'll be here soon. Why it took me so long is I was being quite intentional. So I've got a number of the pens I ordered were under 10 Aussie dollars. There's I can't remember if 1 or 2 Jinhaos, stuff like that. But then I've tried to order some pens that I wouldn't normally order. I can't remember what they were. Let me just get my orders. So I've ordered an Asvine P20 because I've seen people on there. I've ordered another one. I'm interested in seeing what it's like. It's a Mahjong M400. There's Jinhao. A number of Jinhaos. Another one I've seen, I don't know what it's like, a Natami pen. They're the wife's craft stuff. I ordered some stuff for the wife. Another Jinhao. Yeah, another one. Again, interesting to see what it's like. I think it was about 6 Aussie dollars. Was an old stock fully went pen, so that'd be interesting. Jinhao. So yeah, a number of different pens on the way. Video wise, so the videos that I've had come out of this very small pen, it was bought from a car boot sale. I think it was £1 UK money that was paid for it. Then it was sent to me from my daughter. I say it's got that Kaweco nib on it. What's inked up on Tuesday? This was a video, it was done as an experiment and had lots of good feedback. So I've actually scheduled one a month for the rest of the year. And that's where I go through my pen case. These are all the inked up pens. And I do a brief writing sample with each one. And like when I did this one, I found 3 pens that were out of ink and just didn't write. So it was actually quite interesting. I didn't edit those out. I left it all in. I thought, yes, it's a good thing to do. So I had a lot of good feedback about that. So I intend to do them going forward. Friday, we had the wrap up from July. July was a Christmas in July month. It's an interesting one because all the inks were ink vent inks. So it was a bit difficult when I was scoring it. Should I score what I think about the ink or what I think about the pen? Because the theme was really based on those ink vent ones. Then today's video, yesterday on Tricky Little Questions, that was a true or false quiz. I love doing those, and a couple of the questions that I put in there absolutely surprised me when I was researching them. Really interesting. The answer was not what I was expecting. Today, so this afternoon, we've got the Fountain Pen Revolution Darjeeling Focus. Have I got that inked up still? I think I have. Yeah, here we go. Let me just pull that out of the case. I'll need it for tomorrow anyway. So the Fountain Pen Revolution Darjeeling. Quite an inexpensive pen. Pen I've had a couple of challenges with, but that's all in the focus video. If you remember, you'll already have access to it. So what I'm doing with my videos, apart from my daily ones obviously, but for my normal videos, I upload them 2 days before they go live, and as soon as it's uploaded, I give access to members. So you get that 2 days bonus to be able to watch it. On Tuesday, I'll be doing my pens in use for August 2023. As I said, it's a use me up month. You've already seen all the pens just being used here. I filmed this video on Monday of last week. So that's now ready to go. and that'll be getting uploaded after I finish this live. Friday, I've done a video where I've got, I think it was, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 pens, which are like the Parker Duofold type clones or lookalikes. I don't have a Parker Duofold. I wish I could afford one of them. Maybe my wife might get a hint one year for Christmas. But what I did is I've done a video just quickly looking at them, not a review of each pen, but just comparing them against each other. Saturday next week on Tricky Little Questions, I should have brought it in with me, it's in the other room. I looked at how does a Galileo thermometer work. They're the big tubes which look like they're filled with water, and they've got the glass balls in them which go up and down depending on the temperature. That was an interesting one to think about and talk about. And then Sunday of next week, I've got my fountain pen focus on the Fullywen 017. I know I keep looking down. That's where my notes are. That's an interesting one. That's a very, very, very bright pen. I was talking during this week a little bit about the Inkvent calendar. So yeah, I'm planning on getting the Inkvent calendar. I haven't pre-ordered it yet. Very deliberate. Just reach over here. This box here contains all my ink samples. There's loads of them. Some of them have been there like over a year. So before I order the Inkvent calendar, I want to reduce that number by about half. So that's my challenge, and a lot of the inks you'll be seeing will be based on those samples. So that's something that, over the next few weeks, I say you'll see quite a few of those. But once that's down, I then do intend to order that Inkvent calendar. What have I been reading this week? My tea's nearly finished, so we might have to wrap up soon. So this week, I've been reading Terry Pratchett's Equal Rights. That's the 3rd book in the Discworld series, and it's the one that introduced Granny Weatherwax. Now, I know I said last week, Granny Weatherwax, I've got to be honest, she's my favourite character. I think her and Nanny Ogg, they're just so funny. All the other characters are funny, but it's just the way that Granny Weatherwax is. I think it's brilliant. And in one of the scenes, it was raining, and she was walking with a wizard, and the wizard was getting drenched. And essentially, Granny Weatherwax said, "Well, that's because you're walking through the rain instead of around it," and essentially getting the rain so frightened that it avoids her. So I finished that, and then I've gone back to try and finish off a book I've been trying to read for, I think it's nearly 2 years, and that's by Terry Goodkind, and it's Faith of the Fallen. I think it's the 5th book in the series. I've been really struggling with it. I don't know why. I just really am finding it not enjoyable. Now, I have read it before, so I know I like it because, I bought all the other ones and in the series after. The scenario for the lead characters, no matter what they do, it's essentially they're getting kicked in the teeth all the time. And it just doesn't seem realistic. I can understand things going wrong, but it just seems to be all the time. And I know it's needed for the narrative. It's needed because how do you build a story? There's no story if everything's working well and always going nicely. It seems the amount of time it's happening, I'm just not enjoying it. I'm 60% of the way through the book. I say it's taken me 2 years to get there. So what I want to try and do is over the next couple of weeks is to actually finish it. The book I'm reading isn't actually the paperback. I do have the paperback, but I've borrowed it from the local library as an ebook. I do prefer ebooks. They're a lot more convenient because I can take them everywhere. So that's what I'm reading, as I'm reckoning that might be 2, maybe 3 weeks to finish that, but I'm going to try and get it finished. Let's go back to the comments. So Marie bought Southwest Sunset and add a little Monteverde Moonglow. Then she says, no, it's Moonstone. So it's not so light. Yeah, I might give that a try. I've got a couple of inks which might look nice in it. BJ, love using Southwest Sunset in the fall. Yeah, I think that's the time of year it would really be nice. We're middle of winter here. That's why, I don't know if you noticed in today's selection, middle of winter. So I've got quite a few blue inks in there. A couple of reds, but yeah, mainly blues. Wool Hodge just received a Sailor 1911 large, Wicked Witch in medium. Surprised how wet it writes for a Japanese nib. Absolutely really loving it. Yeah, the only Sailor, I've got a couple of Sailors. I've got a Sailor Pro Day Slim. I do find that's a little bit on the small side. It's enjoyable, but it's one of the it's one of the nicest writing nibs I've got. And then I've also got, it's the Sailor Compass, I think. It's a steel nibbed version of the 1911. I'm thinking I might actually do a showdown between the two Sailors I've got, although it's not a like for like then. Wool Hodge, love fountain pen Revolution pens, great writing Indian pens, and it's a Texas company. Yeah, I've got the Darjeeling, I've also got a Guru. As I said, there's a story in the video. I'm not going to tell you the story because otherwise it'll spoil the video. Blonde Scales 1 has had an influx of mechanical pencils. I've not really been a pencil person. I do have one, like a normal pencil laying around somewhere. He says, there it is. This is HB. One of the things I'm thinking about, I'm going to be doing a video. I'm not sure when I'll record it. It might be September, maybe October, where I'm going to compare a ballpoint pen, a roller ball, a fountain pen, and a gel pen, I think it is, and a pencil, all in one video. I've got all the pens and pencil ready to go. It's just trying to work out when I want to film it. And, that then also depends on what else I've got to do around the filming of it. So that's something coming up. And I've actually spoke to my son about this. My son, who thinks that a Bic ballpoint is the best pen in the entire world. I've said to him what I want him to do is to actually give his thoughts on each of them. He's not willing to come on camera, but he'll give me his thoughts. So that'll be quite interesting to get that non-fountain pen person's view of it. Marilyn Gardner, fountain pen revolutions don't work for me. Won't be buying any more. Yeah, I remember, was it about 2 years ago? Inquiring Minds, he had some fountain pen revolution pens that really struggled with. I say my experience has been the opposite. I love them, apart from the story which will come out. BJ, haven't tried any Sailor pens yet. It's all because I love Japanese pilots. I will be honest, I think the writing experience I do have, I've only got the one gold nibbed Sailor. I've got a pilot, a couple of pilots, and I've got a platinum, and I've got a video coming out. Let me tell you when it is. It might already be out. Let me just get into Notion. No, not via that. Notion. N-O. There we go. Let me just go into my calendar. Let's swap over and look at the screen. I do all my planning of videos in something called Notion. I do have a link that I can happy to share with people so they can see what's coming up. So you can see here, these are the videos that are currently in the stream. Here we go. So coming out on the 8th of August, I've got a video where I'm comparing the Waterman Karen Pilot Gold Nib pens, Platinum Gold Nib pen, and Sailor Gold Nib pen against each other. So yeah, it comes out on the 8th of August. So that's all shot and ready to go. Wool Hodge, Sailor has a little different nibs from Pilot. Find Pilot springy, and Sailor give a little feedback. Completely with you there, and I do fetch that out in that video. I will be honest, I absolutely love the Sailor pen. I love the way it writes, but I love the bounciness, certainly with my Pilot Custom Heritage 92. It's such a glorious experience when you're writing. BJ, seems anymore I wait until I get a good chunk of money together and just go for higher end pilots. Yeah, I think we're all very similar there. I think I say, like, this year I've changed my focus on how I buy pens. So last year I was buying a lot of Chinese pens, and some other pens. This year, what I've been doing, I'm being more strategic. So this AliExpress order, chances are it's the only AliExpress order I'll be doing this year. I don't really see doing another one. And all my other pen purchases this year is been around buying pens that are made by Australian makers. So I've got a Just Turnings pen. I've got the Platypus pens, the 3D printed pen. And the next pen I buy, which won't be for a couple of months, there's another couple of Australian makers. So it'll be a pen from one of those. So this year been very strategic. And I think next year I might carry on being strategic. Won't be the same theme as Australian pens, which is what this year is. But next year it might be, save up for, $1,000 pen. I'd love to get a Visconti Homo sapiens Dark Age. I really like the look of that. But it's a lot of money for a pen. Will Hodge favourite pen at this time is a Mike Green custom acrylic pen with a custom grind of a medium smooth italic from Pen Realm. That sounds interesting. Sorry, my voice is starting to go. BJ, if you like pencils, try the Palomino Blackwing 602. Perhaps the best pencil I've ever used. Love a good pencil as well. All the pencils I've got there is this one. And I've got some that Cult Pens sent with a couple of orders. Every single pencil I've got, it was a freebie. I say I'm not really a pencil person. Even if it's just rough notes, I'd rather use a pen and just scribble it out. Okay, that's all the comments that are in there. I'll leave it a few seconds more, see if any more come in. Thank you all for your time. I love doing these. Again, when I write my script, I was showing it to my son earlier. I've got the script, not script, my plan for the live, not very big, my aim is 45 minutes, and each week I go to about an hour and a quarter, and then when I finish, I get told off by the wife for going too long. So I'll be getting told off in a few minutes. Anyway, thank you all for your time. I hope you enjoy this. Hope you're getting something out of these lives. Please let me know of any subjects or topics that you'd like me to cover. I'm running out of ideas, so at the moment I've got 2 ideas in the database. One where I'll talk about the papers, and another one where a few months ago now I did a video with how I do chromatography, and I got a load of feedback on different ways. So what I'm going to do is actually do a live chromatography session. That'll be fun to see how that goes, doesn't it? But we'll look at that. Not sure when, but any ideas, please let me know. So back to the comments for the last few. So Blonde Scales 1 have got a few Blackwings floating around. Wool Hodge, bye all. Yep, bye, be safe. Have an absolutely great week. Santa, great chat, all the best. Teresa, Travel by Books. Hello, I'm sorry, Teresa, we're just about to wrap up. But the video will be available as the replay in YouTube. The Spaminator took 6 fountain pens to work today. Asked my co-worker Asked my co-worker who's not interested in them to write a bit with each. Tell me what she thought. And she thought the most expensive. She thought that was the Jinhao X159. When I do my videos, I put them out for my wife to write with. And quite often the ones she picks as the ones that she really likes. They end up being the Jinhaos, the cheaper pens. And it just goes to show a fountain pen, it's not what it costs. As I say in virtually every video, what matters is, does it let you get ideas out of your head and onto paper? And does it let you do it in a way that you enjoy? And as long as it fits both those criteria, who cares how much it costs? I love writing with it's in my pen case now. I love writing with my Jinhao 992s. I've always got one inked up. Do you know how expensive they were? They were $2 Aussie. And it's a beautiful pen to write with. Writes just as well as the Pilot Custom 823, which cost me $400 Aussie. And the only main difference is, to be honest, it's the size of the pens and how comfortable they feel in the hand. Teresa, yeah, the Spaminator most expensive one she tried was Alarmy Studio. BJ, everyone have a good night and keep writing on. Yep, so thank you all. I'm going to wrap this up now. My coffee is out. The dog has just walked in. Let me go and grab her for those that wanted to see the dog. Here she is. She doesn't actually like being up on the desk. This is Kira. As I've said, I'm a big Star Trek fan, and any dog that I name is named after Star Trek, and this was named after Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine. She's 8 years old now, and there you are. Right, so thank you all. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you again soon.